The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Welcome to Success Secrets Exposed with Sally A. Curtis, where we share stories of challenge, success, and inspiration, along with practical tips and strategies to move you forward to your success. And now, here is your host, Sally A. Curtis.
Good evening, good morning, and good day to you all, and welcome to another episode of Success Secrets Exposed. As we said, we have conversations with today's thought leaders, change makers, disruptors to bring you tips, tools, and strategies to help you have forward movement. For those that are new to the show, I'm a content repurposing whiz for speakers, authors, and coaches, and I help them turn their books into 2 years worth of social media posts, effectively helping them turn their existing content into new profits. But today we're going to be talking with Brad Yates on tapping into success. And we're going to introduce you to EFT, or tapping, as a tool for clearing those internal blocks so we can all be more successful. So let me tell you a little bit about Brad. Brad has over 1,000 videos on YouTube that have been viewed more than 36 million times. So we've got a great resource for you there. Now, Brad is known internationally for his creative and often humorous use of emotional freedom techniques, which is what EFT is, or tapping. Brad is the author of the best-selling book, a children's book, The Wizard's Wish. He's also the co-author of the bestseller Freedom at Your Fingertips, and he is a featured expert in the film The Tapping Solution. Now, he's also been a presenter at a number of very, very large events, including Jack Canfield's Breakthrough to Success. He's done teleseminars with The Secrets stars Bob Doyle and Dr. Joe Vitale, and has been heard internationally on numerous internet radio shows and TV shows just like this one. So can you please help me welcome to the show, Brad Yates?
Thanks, Sally. It's great to be here.
Welcome. It's lovely to connect with you again and be able to share your wisdom, curiosity, and inner genius with the audience. So thank you so much for joining us.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to share this work. Everyone out there has a gift and talent to share, and we also have a lot of stuff that stops us from being successful in sharing it. Yeah. And I am happy to be here to help folks clear whatever stops them from being more successful, because for everyone, your success benefits everybody.
Yeah, beautiful.
So please and thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So I'd love, because I always like to start with a backstory, and I'm super curious. So tell us a bit of the backstory as to how you discovered tapping and how this work's very much become your quest.
Yeah. So how does a grown man find himself tapping on his face for a living? I actually started out as an actor and had toured the world doing theater, even performed in Australia, and went to Hollywood to become a movie star, as one does, and met a woman, fell in love, got married. And when our first child was on the way, I was thinking, it might be a good idea to have a backup career. So I had always been fascinated with the power of the mind. And I saw an advertisement for hypnotherapy school. And I thought that would be super cool. Not exactly a great 9-to-5 secure job, but it seemed like a good thing to do. And so I started building a small hypnotherapy practice while still pursuing acting. And then after a couple of years, when our second child was on the way, I took another look and realized that as much as I loved acting, doing personal development work was really my calling. It's like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. This is the best use of my gifts and talents. And so we left Los Angeles, moved to Northern California. And through some other hypnotherapists, I heard about this energy work and this tapping stuff that people are doing. And I went to a conference, and took a training with Gary Craig, the founder of EFT, and fell in love with this. Particularly, one of the things they did throughout the day was he gave everybody a piece of chocolate and said, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much would you like that chocolate? And I was a bit of a chocoholic at the time, and I'm like 8, 9. So we just did a few moments of tapping, and afterwards I could not eat the chocolate. I tried it, I couldn't eat it. I think it was 2 years before I ate chocolate again. I
Wow.
recovered, I got over it, but I was, but just noticing that difference, I'm like, wow, there's something about this technique. And I know that when a lot of folks see it for the first time, because it is a process of literally tapping on our face, and they say, yeah, it looks a little too weird.
Yeah.
Now, in my training as an actor, I had done all kinds of things like going to clown college. So this, looking weird was not a big deal. So I came back from that conference and I started introducing a little bit of tapping into my hypnotherapy sessions. And little by little, they became tapping sessions with a little bit of hypnotherapy at the end.
Yeah.
I started putting things online, and then YouTube came along, and I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if there's a tapping video people could start their day with? And I'll call it Tap of the Morning.
I saw. I loved it. I'm like, look at that. Way to go.
And that was, Sally, that was all I intended to do, was that one video. I had no plans.
Really? Just
I had
run.
no idea of this is a business where I could create YouTube videos and have them out there. I just thought, oh, this will be one cool thing to have out there. And it was like 6 months later that I thought, yeah, maybe I should have one for the end of the day, and I'll call it Tap of the Evening. And then I'm done. And then a few weeks later, or a few months later, I think it was actually, thought of another idea and another, and then, as you said, there's over 1,000 of them there now.
Yeah, and so well viewed and consumed. And I think that and that was why I used the word quest. And I know we sort of spoke about that, but there was very much a quest and a legacy piece of everything that you've created, the resources that are available to everybody, which is edified and typified so tapified so beautifully, because your audience is consuming it so readily. So well done, and what a great resource and legacy to leave those that are on their personal development journey to, become the success they're meant to be. Now, I loved a phrase that I saw on your website about success being a birthright, which also triggered me to this is a bit more, this is a whole legacy piece and a big quest, and you found your calling, etc. So can you talk us through some of the, I suppose, some of the successes or blocks that people have that'll help explain sort of what EFT is and how it perhaps works a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, while I talk about this, I'm going to encourage people to actually be tapping. So
Yes. I will move
there's
my
all
desk.
kinds of points you can tap, but I'm just going to, sometimes when I'm talking, I'll just be tapping the collarbone point. It's a key point. So these points are all taken from acupuncture. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they've said there's this flow of energy through the body. In traditional Chinese medicine, they stick needles in you. We're just going to be tapping with our fingertips. But right here, if you feel where your collarbones just about come together, there's a little bit of a U shape right there. And you can be tapping with all your fingertips, or even make a fist and tap where the collarbones meet. Just so that as we talk about some of these blocks, you'll be starting to clear some of that as we're talking about it. We have a lot of different reasons why we might stop ourselves from being successful. I was just on another interview, and we were tapping about the fear of being seen, which is huge for a lot of people.
Yeah.
All this fear that people will judge me. And it is just silly to be afraid of people judging you, because you know what? People are going to judge you no matter what. Whether you're out there on the internet tapping on your face, or on the biggest stage in the world, or whatever, or if you're hiding out in your house, occasionally sneaking out to do some grocery shopping, someone's going to know that you exist, and they're going to judge you. So just get over it and just say, all right, as long as people are going to judge me, I might as well be as successful as possible and make as big a difference as possible and have all the impact that I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
But understandably, there is this part. So there's this thing in our brain called the amygdala, this part of our brain that looks for threats and puts us into fight or flight if we perceive threat. Really beneficial back when on a daily basis we were threatened by life-threatening situations, saber-toothed tigers, neighboring tribes with spears, all kinds of things that, I need to be able to go into fight or flight. But that process still happens even if someone just looks at us cross-eyed or leaves a nasty comment on social media or something like that.
Okay.
And it shuts us down. So don't beat yourself up for the ways that you may have stopped yourself. Just, Walt Whitman said, be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
So with yourself, when you look at the ways that you sabotage your success, just be curious and go, okay, don't beat yourself up. Go, oh, I'm so stupid for not calling that person back. I'm so stupid for not arriving at that meeting on time. No, you're brilliant. I like to say that self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love. When we block our success, we are doing it because something inside of us has said it's not safe. I'll be criticized, or I'll make more money than I should. I shouldn't have more money than my parents. Or if I have more money, my family's going to be asking me for money, or friends will be jealous, or, I'll have to pay higher taxes. Yes, but you'll also have more after taxes. So get over that one, please. We have, and so many of these beliefs are unconscious. We're not consciously thinking, oh, I choose to do something really successful today. But let me think about that. No, money's bad, so I don't want to do that. It happens at an unconscious level. We're like a chess grandmaster that's thinking 50 moves ahead.
Yeah.
And we're saying, oh, no, can't do that, even before we're consciously aware that we've done that. So all of these things come up. So when we look at something that we could do that would allow us to be more successful, some way to get our product or service out there, even before we're consciously aware of it, we may be stopping ourselves and saying it's not safe.
Yeah.
And that's just this old system in our body putting us into fight or flight, maybe at a very subtle level, but just enough to stop ourselves. We find distractions. Oh, yes, I'm going to write that report. It's going to be so great. Oh, but first I got to check my Instagram.
Yeah. Have you been to my house?
Well, a little bird told me that before every interview, I like to put hidden cameras in the interviewer's house. So I have something relevant to talk about.
Absolutely.
And I can't, no. So it's, again, not beating ourselves up, but being compassionate with ourselves, going, okay, it's just that part of me is afraid of being more successful. I like to say that the extent to which we're not experiencing what we say we want, whether it's success, money, health, relationships, love, the extent to which we're not experiencing what we say we want tends to be the extent to which we are resisting it.
Yeah, which is so real and relevant, and so I'm going to use an Australian term, so in my face scenario, in our face about that, because we've got so good at overcomplicating things for ourselves, haven't we?
We're brilliant. We are too smart for our own goods.
So good. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is to recognize you're not being stupid. You are just too smart. It's like, oh, I am such a failure at business. My goodness, I'm brilliant. Because I like to say we're 100% successful 100% of the time, according to one part of our mind. So it's which part of your mind is winning out. There is a part of the mind that says, I want to stay in bed. So if I'm staying in bed, I'm so unsuccessful. It's like, no, part of me is like, woohoo, we are so good. We won.
Yes.
That part of me that stops me from being seen. That part of me that says, all right, my income was lower this year, so I got a tax refund. Woohoo. I actually had an accountant who said, well, hopefully next year you'll get a refund. I'm like, no, I don't want to I want to make so much money next year that you're like, oh, you have to pay more in taxes. Excellent.
Yeah.
Refund means I didn't do as well this year as I did last
Yeah. But isn't it? I find it's humorous, but it's so relatable that we've just got those little moments where, as you say, one mind, if you want to
Yeah,
use it that way. I've got the grotty goddess that sits on the shoulder. It's like, yeah, not your turn today, not your turn today. But it's that, one over the other. There's going to be a win, and with that win needs to be a potential reframe. Would that be the right word as it relates to from a hypnosis perspective or a personal development
yeah,
perspective? And this is obviously where the tapping helps. So please continue.
yeah. Well, and recognizing that that Grotty Goddess says, "Not your turn today," and our tendency is to get upset with ourselves about that, and
Correct.
instead it's going, "Okay, so why not? What I totally understand that you're trying to protect me.
Mm,
You had the best. You have positive intentions for me, even if it doesn't sound like it. But there is a positive intention there. So there's a love and intent. Why not me today?
mm,
Why shouldn't I? Well, because you couldn't handle that success or you don't deserve it. And going back to the statement of success is your birthright,
mm.
obviously, because if you're breathing oxygen right now, obviously, according to the universe wants you to have what you need and
Yeah.
wants you to have what benefits you. You can go out and you can go to the coast and look at the ocean and
Mm,
see the same view as Sir Richard Branson or Bill Gates or whoever, other successful people, and say, well, as far as the universe is concerned, I'm just as worthy and deserving of this magnificence as anybody else.
mm,
So, what is it that inside me that says, not me today?
mm.
And then I may have had that belief for so long that it's just I'm stuck in that. And
Yes.
so if I try to change that, I'm going to have this fear response.
Mm,
Anything outside of my comfort zone feels scary. And so I will go into fight or flight just because I'm trying to make some changes.
mm.
People have their vision boards
Yes.
and the mind will go, oh, that's fine. You go ahead and fantasize about that all you want. We're just going to make sure it never happens because you couldn't handle it. And so I will brilliantly stop myself because that fear response. So with the tapping, we're
Mm.
calming down that fear response. Where the tapping sends a calming signal to the mind, calms down the nervous system so that we can be talking about, oh, I choose to make all this money. And whereas before, part of us would say, no, bad, bad, evil,
Yeah.
stop, run away, check Instagram, go eat something. And
Chocolate. Yeah.
it's like, calm down, say, oh, yeah, why not? And all those people who are making millions and millions of dollars and paying taxes, they didn't probably weren't born that way and they had to learn it. And if they can learn it, I can learn it too. I can figure out how to be rich. I can figure out how to be successful. I can
Mm,
figure out how to have a lot of people know about me.
mm,
And as we calm down that nervous system and that automatic response, we start to see, yeah, I've got this. I can handle success.
mm. It's almost as we've been doing that and talking through, and it's interesting when you say certain words or phrases like as we all do, we get that which is that fear response. But by doing that, I could feel the body literally going. "Mm, mm," and then you can actually, for my mind, I'm thinking I can have a more rational debate, and get into and feeling more opportunistic. So then with that calmness doesn't come reaction, and with that calmness comes different thoughts. And for me, it was moving more into opportunity thinking and possibility thinking
Absolutely.
versus, yeah, the other.
Absolutely. Because that kind of thinking comes from the prefrontal cortex.
Mm,
So when the amygdala gets triggered, the prefrontal cortex goes bye-bye.
yeah,
We go into fight or flight. Can I fight off this monster or can I run from it?
yeah,
And I am not thinking about, oh, I could call so and so because they have that friend who's a reporter for a television station, and
mm,
they could do a story about this. Is real. So my children's book was recently in the gift bag that went to Oscar nominees,
yes,
and and I have a friend who has a friend who's a local news reporter, and they came out to our house and interviewed us. And so we were on the local news on Sunday after the Oscars.
Yeah,
So
brilliant.
these kind of things happen when we allow ourselves to think more broadly and more clearly,
Yeah.
and just recognizing that we don't think that way so often because we are in this fear response. And most of the time, we have more stress than we're aware of. It's like this ambient
Mm.
stress that's going on all the time,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
because we are all walking around with this little device that is constantly saying, "Hey, did you hear about this? Here's something to be upset about."
Mm.
Constantly telling us what to be stressed out about. And it may have nothing to do with our business,
Mm.
but it is putting us into at least some level of stress, which
Mm.
to some level shuts down the prefrontal cortex. So we're
Mm.
not firing on all cylinders in terms of what we're capable of. You know, that
Mm.
old saying, we're using 5 to 10% of our mental ability. We expand what we can use as we calm down stress. So that's why I start
Yeah.
tapping first thing in the morning. It's not just about clearing out uncomfortable feelings. It can be just about being as open as possible. It's like, I don't know, nothing's bothering me right now, but just in case there's any stress that might stop my creative thinking, I want to clear that stuff out
Yeah.
so that I am open to as many opportunities and possibilities.
Yeah. Can I just ask, because I've just had a bit of a curiosity insight for myself. So part of my, for me in the mornings, I'm fast paced. Most people work that out pretty quickly. So I get up and I like to do my meditating in the morning as a rule, and I've got my rituals that I do around that. But some mornings I've sort of, how you wake up with those insights, and you just got to map those, get those ideas out and map those out, which I do from a journaling perspective. But then sometimes when I've moved from there and I try to go meditate, I'm in that different. I'm in that it's not fight or flight. It's more creative. But I'm then doing, but no, I've got to settle into this. I want to settle into this. So in that instance, I'm actually hearing that I can actually utilize tapping to actually calm myself down to be in a better
Yes,
receptive meditative state.
absolutely.
Correctly? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've used tapping myself before meditating just to calm
Mm,
down whatever might be interrupting me
mm.
and whatever might stop me from being as, as meditative as possible.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. So I've got a fabulous key takeaway, and I've got my that huge value from today. So thank you for that. So for all
My
my
work here is done.
yeah, I like not off the hook quite that quickly. But for those people that are in the audience that have, for me, meditation is a relatively new thing. It was something I struggled with because of being this fast pace. And I've had often conversations with friends around, I'd really love to meditate, but I can't get, my mind keeps racing. And we've all had those conversations. So I
Yeah.
thought it was a great way to bring a gift to everybody and sort of say, with the tapping, you have that opportunity to get yourself into a stiller state so you can actually find and discover the benefits of meditation in its truest form. So talk us through what tapping is, and we can do some of that together, and then we can talk a little bit more about clearing some of those blocks and how things work as well.
Absolutely. Happy to take you through this.
Yeah.
So the very basic version of EFT is we generally start with the index and middle fingers. And so with our fingertips, we gently tap on the side of the opposite hand.
Mhm.
And we start off with, because with tapping, we're usually clearing out something that's bothering us. So we might say, all right, I'm just feeling really stressed out.
Mhm.
Or I'm really angry at Bob. Bob has been such a jerk, and I feel so angry. I want to meditate. I want to go work on my book. I want to go, but I'm just so angry at Bob.
Yeah.
Brilliant way to distract yourself. Thank you, Bob, for saving me from the dangers of being successful.
Yeah.
So we would then rate that on a scale of 0 to 10 in terms of how angry do I feel?
Mm.
Oh, he was really a jerk. It's a good 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And how do I feel it? Oh, it's a tension in my shoulders, or it's a knot in my stomach. I'd like to find out what the physical experience of that
Yes.
is. So we would then say, even though I have this issue, I choose to love and accept myself. So whatever the issue is, I'm really stressed out or I'm really angry at Bob. So using that statement, we would say, even though I'm angry at Bob, I choose to love and accept myself.
Yeah.
And we'd repeat that 3 times. We just want to create a statement of, I still feel acceptance for myself, even though this is going on.
Mm.
And these are, it's just lightly tapping. This is a self-care technique, so we don't want to hurt ourselves. Yeah. So then we start here right at the beginning of your eyebrow, and gently tap in there. And generally we tap the points between 5 and 10 times. But like if we're saying a longer phrase, it might be longer. So I might say, all this anger at Bob. Or I might say, all this anger at Bob for that really stupid thing he did at my party last night, which means we might be tapping more than 5 times. So we would tap each of these points, all this anger at Bob, right here at the side of your eye or at the corner of your eye socket, all this anger at Bob, right under the middle of your eye, right above the cheek, all this anger at Bob, right under your nose, just above your upper lip, all this anger at Bob, right below your lower lip, just above your chin, all this anger at Bob. Then right here at the collarbone point, all this anger at Bob. About 4 inches below your armpit, that's right about bra strap level, and I'm sure even the guys can figure out where that is. All this anger at Bob. And finally, the top of your head. And with all your fingertips, just tapping a little circle around the crown of your head. All this anger at Bob. You take a deep breath. And you check back in and say, okay, now what does that feel like? And for some people, it'll go from an 8 to a 0 like that. Sometimes it'll go from an 8 to a 7.75. It's like, I'm slightly less ticked off at him, but we generally, it's like peeling the layers of the onion, and we might get more clear about, okay, I'm angry at Bob because that thing that he did is because now I have to do something. I have this uncomfortable thing I'm going to have to do, and I resent that I'm in that position now. And I can tap on, even though I resent that I have to take this action that I'm afraid of taking. Maybe Bob doing whatever he did means now I have to write some report or do some follow-up work that I was thinking I was going to get to avoid, or I'm going to have to do it sooner than I wanted to. And so it's like, well, it's just as well because I was going to have to do it anyway. And also, as we're peeling layers of the onion, we might be tapping along saying this anger at Bob, this anger at Bob. Oh, it's not even Bob. It's Cindy in the 3rd grade when she broke my favorite toy. Oh, and what Bob did just reminded me of what Cindy, all this anger at Cindy, all this anger at Cindy. And this is a great opportunity to clear out something that at some unconscious level has been bothering us for decades.
Yeah.
And we have no idea how that unresolved issue with Cindy is still blocking our success. How many times we've sabotaged our success because I'm trying to avoid getting hurt like I did when Cindy broke my toy.
Yeah.
And so now we might even find ourselves so grateful to Bob. It's like, Bob, you go up and shaking his hand and giving him a hug. And it's like, what did I do? Don't even worry about it. It would take a long time to explain.
But it's another day.
Yeah. But Bob helped me find that issue with Cindy that's been holding me back. And now I have so many more opportunities for success that I wouldn't have had before. So that's the thing is, as we're tapping through, we might find complete relief, or we may have a greater awareness that we can tap through, or we might find that it's completely something different. So we may even say, okay, I was at an 8 in terms of how angry I am. And now after tapping, now I feel like I'm at a 9. But because now I'm more aware of what it was, I was blocking myself from seeing what I'm really angry about. And now I see it. So in the moment, I might feel more angry, but now I have the opportunity to really clear something and have a greater level of freedom than I ever knew because I was avoiding something that I didn't want to look at.
Yeah. And I think too, what I'm also hearing and experiencing as I've been going through that, and if we use that you were really angry at Bob and then you realized it was Cindy, is I'm laughing at myself because of the grotty goddess conversations that we have, that you've got the voice that you don't feel like you're in control of, but going through the process you're starting to create an awareness around the conversation, and then you're actually being able to self-direct the conversation. Yeah.
In a way that we couldn't before because the prefrontal cortex was shut down, and
Yeah.
part of us was afraid. It's like, don't even look at this. Don't even just
Yeah.
stay away from it. It's like, but how can I resolve it if I don't worry about that. I'm trying to protect you from something you can't handle. You can't handle looking at what happened with Cindy.
Yeah, now you've been a fly inside my brain, yes, as it would be with everybody else's. And isn't we can laugh about it, but isn't that the reality of everyday life? Because I love the phrase that you use, the ambient stress, because I know what, and the device, as you said, because I was thinking back to yesterday, because I was on time constraints yesterday. And we all love it when we get an SMS or an email from a client saying they want to talk to us. But my phone was going bzz, 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 and I'm going, I'm getting like this because I'm like, I'm on a timeline. Yes, I think that's great, but not now. And it is we are in that constant stress, but we actually don't realize it. And I'm laughing about it now because I knew I was getting more wound up because I was trying to get more stuff done, and we had multiple things going. There was multiple people involved.
And there's all kinds of thoughts going through your head, including, I'm so stupid for not putting do not disturb on my phone. Because that happens to me. I'll be in a thing and my watch will start buzzing. I was giving a talk in Paris,
Mm,
and my family had started a group text. I didn't know this. My family, my parents and my siblings, this big group text, and everybody was chiming in on it. So I'm standing here in front of this group of people in Paris, France, and my wrist is buzzing like this. Like, why did I not turn that
well,
off? And so it's like, whereas part of this would say, oh, that's great, that's extra business, that's gonna be successful, I'll deal with it later. But it's an intrusion right now, and I'm mad at myself for not setting up an environment where I had more freedom to work. And
yeah,
it's allowing us to clear that and go, I'm not stupid. I missed that, and I'll take care of that later. The phone
yeah,
can wait. Those things are fine. I'm going to focus on what's important right now.
yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Love that. And if we go back to the Cindy scenario where we've worked out that Bob was actually just a segue to Cindy, if I've said that round the right
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
This comes back into the childhood programming that is unconsciously driving the decisions and the way we actually come about solving problems. And this is where, with the tapping, from what I'm hearing and experiencing here, is we're just helping to sort of create that rewire or reset for our own success. It's like resetting our success meter. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. We are resolving past fears
Mm,
because we learn things that that are situational. I
mm,
like to talk about half sentences. We have these rules in our heads about that are half sentences, like it's not safe to make money because we may have seen our parents get mad at somebody who made a lot of money, and
mm,
so that's this idea that it's wrong to make money.
mm,
and and we may not remember that it's like, well, they made money because it was some oil company that was raping the land or whatever.
mm.
But we don't pick that up. We have this, oh, it's not safe to make money. It's like, no, that's half the sentence. It's not
Yes.
safe to make money, when it's
In that scenario.
destroying other people. um, it's not, if I was, if my mom was in a really bad mood and I came home from school and I had, gotten a prize, and I'm talking about it, and she says, I don't want to hear about that. Go to your room, or something like that. We may say, oh, it's not safe to have good things happen.
Mm,
No, that's a half a sentence. It's
yeah,
not safe to talk about good things when your mom's in a bad mood.
yeah, yeah. They're almost half truths, aren't they? Become half truths.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And we don't think about this. So we're sitting there running our life going, I'm not allowed to have good things. Like, no, I'm just not allowed to talk about good things around my mom when she's in a bad mood.
yeah,
And, oh, she's not here today. So whether she's in a bad mood or not is not an issue. I can have good things happen to me today.
yeah, Yeah, brilliant. And as it relates to coming back from the beginning, you were talking about it being energy work, and obviously through the tapping experience, for those that have been on the show with us today, they've felt their body calming down within that. So can you explain as it relates to energy work, because there's a lot of energy healers out there. We're hearing a lot more about energy work, and obviously we've got the gift at our fingertips, so to speak. So talk us through how that's working from an energy perspective, so people can understand their own capacity to be able to assist themselves on a daily basis.
Yeah. And there are a lot of different theories
Mm,
about how this works. So when tapping was discovered by a psychologist named Dr. Roger Callahan, and was working with a woman with a water phobia, and was just trying to help her with a stomach issue that came up during when she had the fear of water. And he'd been learning about acupressure and this meridian system that's been used in
mm.
Chinese medicine for all this time. And not only did the knot in her stomach go away, but her water phobia went away.
Oh, it's a dual.
And
Okay.
so he started experimenting with different clients and found that tapping on these different points was beneficial in clearing up this emotional disturbance.
Mm,
So the basic idea was that all of the uncomfortable emotions we experience is caused by a disruption in our energy system. And by tapping on these points, we clear that up.
mm,
Now, there's a lot of work looking at how this interacts with the polyvagal system. So the vagus nerve that runs down the spine and interacts with the different organs in the body. There is all this stuff about how the tapping calms down the nervous system such that cortisol, the stress hormone, is lowered in our body.
mm,
And there is a phenomenon called piezoelectricity. So that's when we're doing the tapping on these particular points. And these points are not just random. We can take a galvanometer and find these points because they have lower electrical resistance than other places on our body.
mm,
And by tapping that, this compression that happens on the surface of the skin sends an electrical signal to the nervous system that's a calming signal.
mm,
So the exact mechanism of what the tapping is doing could be one of these things. It could be all of these things, but it's that the energy flowing through our body that is either erratic or calm. It allows that to calm down such that we feel more peace. We feel healthier,
mm.
and of course, the brain is back online, and we can think more clearly.
And isn't that so true when we do get so stressed? I remember, years ago, one of my biggest things was, oh my God, I can't think straight because of the level of stress. And now I understand where
You
that comes
literally, yeah, you
from.
literally couldn't. And the more upset you got about that, the more stressed you got, and the further off from thinking straight you got.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of vibrational energy and law of attraction, and people say,
Mm,
if you attract into your life what you're in vibrational harmony with.
correct.
So, what is the energy you're putting off? Is it fear energy? And
Mm,
what's that going to bring into your life? Or is it energy that's in harmony with abundance and peace and joy and
mm,
love?
mm,
So that when
mm,
you're in that much better vibrational place, the energy you're putting off, because everything is energy. We're connected to everyone and everything. So you're connected with all the things you really want and all the things you really don't want.
mm,
So what are you going to be drawing to you?
mm.
And this naturally calms us down and puts us in a more positive vibration.
Yeah, brilliant. And I noticed when we were going through the tapping and I was listening to your instructions to get what I'm going to call the spot right, you can actually feel, or I was able to feel that when you were or weren't on the right spot, it actually feels quite different from a touch perspective, but the body reacts differently if you're not in quite the right spot.
Well, then you're very sensitive to that. Then that's awesome.
Yeah,
So and sometimes we just know this is we could be tapping through all the points, but might feel actually no, this is where I'm supposed to be right now.
yeah,
So even beyond just finding the right place on the body, but also it's the right spot for me at this moment
moment.
to
Yeah,
be
that makes
tapping.
sense.
And for
Yeah.
anyone tapping, if you don't have that kind of sensitivity and you're like, I can't tell the difference, don't worry about it because we're all wired differently and we pick things up differently.
Yeah.
And it's a very forgiving process.
Yeah, yeah. So talk through as it relates to, because I think we've had some really good conversations as it relates to the fear and the heightened stress levels that we've got when people are utilizing the tapping as it relates to. We've talked about the fear energy. Now let's talk about the abundance energy and what that helps to bring into play, because a lot of people will equate that to that, being on their success path, etc. So can you explore
Right.
that with me?
Yeah. For all the folks watching going, I don't feel any stress. I'm not angry at Bob. I just want to know how to make more money in my business.
Yeah.
And again, the extent to which we're not experiencing what we want, the
Mm,
success we want, is the extent to which we're resisting it.
yeah.
And we only resist things because there's some fear. So when you look at it, why don't I have as many clients coming to me? Why is my product not getting the buzz that it could get? Why are people not reading my book, or whatever it is that you're putting out there, whatever your gifts and talents are that you're trying to share? Why is it not getting the results? And I always like to come from the perspective of, okay, there's something going on in me, something that might be blocking. I might be out on the tarmac and the success plane is coming in and I'm out there waving it off. Nope, don't land here. I have my book. I published it and I'm thinking that I've done everything right, but I'm energetically saying to people, don't buy this book.
Yeah.
Don't read it. Because if we don't come from that perspective, then we're just victims.
Mm,
I've done everything I possibly can. I'm doing everything that could make me be successful. It's just the world isn't giving me the success I want.
mm,
Well, then
mm.
you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So it's always looking at what part might I be playing and not judging ourselves, but getting curious. Is there some part of me that is afraid of having
Mm,
greater success? Why was
mm.
I okay being on TV on Sunday night, but not the week before?
Yeah.
What
Not on
had I
Tuesday.
cleared during the week that suddenly there's a bigger opening?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're not aware of that stuff. And so we can, the great thing is we can tap on the positive. I choose to be
Mm,
more successful. I choose to have more money.
mm.
And whatever fear is there will be coming up
Or
and we'll
present it.
be clearing it. And
Yeah.
so often we're not aware of the fears. It may be that part of us still believes the line, money is the root of all evil,
Mm,
which is a
mm,
mistranslation. It's not what the statement says. It's the actual translation is the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So
mm.
all kinds of bad things can happen when you are greedy. That's
Yeah.
basically what it means. It
Right.
doesn't mean that money is bad.
Yeah.
The money can be a very good tool for doing wonderful things, and it's a great way to allow yourself to experience more good things in your life because of the good work you're doing.
Mm, mm. But
You know,
a beautiful example of a half truth or a half sentence. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so we're buying into this thing that is not the actual truth.
Truth. Yeah.
And we may not be aware of that. We may be saying, "Oh no, no, I want lots of money. I absolutely want lots of money." So let me look at your calendar. What have you done this week to be more successful? Oh,
Mm.
well, I had a lot of really good intentions. I meant to do that, but there's stuff that happened, and
Yeah.
yeah, there's some resistance there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're
That's.
resisting success, and it may be that what you're doing isn't what you're really meant to be doing.
Mm,
Like for me as an actor, acting was not what I was meant to be doing,
mm,
but it took me in that direction. So
mm.
it's allowing ourselves to be open to, maybe what's happening here is I'm not there's something else that I'm missing.
Yeah.
And why am I missing that? Let me clear whatever stress might be shutting down my prefrontal cortex so that
Yeah.
I can go, oh, look at that. Hey, I didn't see that before.
Yeah, it helps to bring clarity. That's been a beautiful explanation. I'd love now to ask. Sorry, I've just I had two questions pop into my brain at the same time there. Let me pause on that one. So one of the, you've got two books. I've also had a look on the website, and you've got I think it was a 5-day tapping course that's on your website for people to check out and consume and discover, some new techniques and some new possibilities for themselves. But you've also got the advanced excuse me, the advanced program coming up. So can you share a little bit about advance in the last couple of minutes? But I'd also like to try and touch on the children's book as well, The Wizard's Wish.
Yeah, absolutely. So Advance is a live group program. So every week I meet with the members of Advance on Zoom, and I'll generally work with between 3, 4, sometimes 5 people one on one. But everyone benefits from that because either this happens all the time where I'm tapping with someone and all these other people are saying, "Oh my goodness, that's exactly what I'm going through." I'm so grateful to tap on that. And sometimes the next person in line who's already raised their hand to tap, as soon as I finish with the first person, the next person is like, I'm done because that was exactly what I needed to tap on. And now I don't feel that constraint anymore.
Yeah.
And for other people who may say, that's not what's going on for me, they can still be clearing what's going on for them, even though the words might not match.
Yeah.
So it's a really profound and powerful program of group tapping. So that's every week. And I open registration twice a year, and that is currently open until beginning of next week.
Nice.
So that's at tapwithbrad.com/advance.
Yeah, beautiful. We've just had the URL go across the screen. Now, the
Thank
Wizard's
you.
Wish, I wanted to tap on that, because it was obviously given out just recently at the Oscars. But I love the idea of getting children to understand what their opportunities are early. So talk us through that too, please.
Yeah. And it came out of people that I was tapping with, and the stuff that was blocking them was from their childhood.
Mm.
It's not the anger at Bob, it's what happened with Cindy in 3rd grade. So I thought, how do we get kids to learn more about this? And I had kids and we loved reading them stories. So I thought, if I could have a fun storybook way. And so I, illustrated it with cartoons and things. And it was just a fun way of introducing the tapping process so that kids could learn how to tap before they had shortchanged themselves in life.
Yeah, yeah. And I think too with children, Rory, my son's 18, and I've seen certainly from a young age with him when he was 8 and 9, he put an awful lot of pressure on himself at school and sort of had a little bit of a mini. Not breakdown, but a little mini stress. And it was sort of like, you're only 8, you shouldn't be experiencing this level of stress. But it just goes to show, again, about that ambient stress that we've either got around us or that we're placing on ourselves and those sorts of things. So having different tools, and I've been lucky enough to be in different personal development programs, etc. And Roy's come along to so many of them as well, being in the professional speakers and seeing so much of that. So he has picked up lots of tools. But again, I think because we're in such a fast-paced environment, especially with the last 2 years, with the amount of change that we've been having, to be able to arm our children with some new tools. And I'm going to say it this way: Rory loves anything that's weird, so he's quite happy to be the weird one that's doing weird stuff because he's embraced his weirdness. So if we can give our children the opportunity to be as expressive and as bold and as opportunistic as they want to be, then I think that's a great thing. It's setting them up correctly and gives them the leg up.
We have more to share than we know. And so it's tapping to clear whatever might be stopping us. Even if we think, oh, I'm doing great, what else is possible? Let me get as clear as possible.
And I think with what you've actually said there, I love that it's a nurturing process that we can provide for ourselves. And I experienced that when I just did that little bit of tapping. And for me, a great tool and reminder is to utilize that before I step into my meditations if I'm not doing that. But it really is shifting, changing the energy, working with the meridians, bringing up and creating awareness around what the real story is, or where the half truth has really come from, to be able to clear that path for your own success, enabling us. So for me, I've heard and felt it's enabling me to get out of my own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
Yeah. Brilliant. Any last closing tips, words, anything else you'd like to share with the audience? Brad, it's been a pleasure.
Uh, Thank you. Well, going back to what you originally said about success is your birthright.
Yeah.
It is. And not only is it your birthright, it is a gift that you give the world.
Mm.
Your success benefits others. So keep clearing out and allow yourself to have as much success as possible so that you have as much impact as possible.
Mm.
Please and thank you.
Brilliantly said. Thank you very, very much, Brad. An absolute pleasure. For anybody that listens to that's listening to the show after the fact, we'll have the relevant links available on the social media. You'll find them on YouTube. You're able to connect with Brad at tapwithbrad.com, and you'll be able to find those free resources. You've obviously got lots of abundance of resources available to you on YouTube as well. So do connect with Brad. Everything there is literally at your fingertips.
Thanks so much, Sally.
Thank you very much. Take care, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next week on another episode of Success Secrets Exposed. Take care for now.
That's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and I trust that you got some inspirational tips to move you forward. You can find this episode along with many more on your favorite streaming platform such as iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for more Success Secrets Exposed with Sally A. Curtis.